Bonjour tout le monde. Hello. Yep, we're back. Okay, in, on and gone, number 65. Back in the shed. Absolutely lovely. Right, these videos, same sort of format, but I add a little bit into the middle part of the video each week, a little bit different. And this week, I'm going to go back to July 2024. Tell you about the products that I sourced and put onto my eBay store, and then give you feedback on how many I've sold in the year. Because one of the things that people worry about, I suppose, if actually getting into this reselling stuff is my stuff going to sell? So I'll give you a bit of feedback on what I sold and the sort of profits that were made from those products. If you're new to the channel, welcome, hello, yeah, but if you're not, please like, comment, subscribe, and you know, we're going to start with me talking about some products that have sold quickly from my store this week. When I say quickly, I mean within 7 days, promoted at 2%. Then I'll go into my July stuff, okay, talk about July 2024 and how well I've done with the products that I had there. And then I'm going to mention a few more things that have sold this week that took longer than a week to shift. All right, so enjoy, watch on. Let's go for a little ride, shall we? So the quick sellers that I'm going to tell you about first up, and I've mentioned these before, these sell really well. They're a pair of tuxedo trousers. I think when you actually pick these up from charity shops, you know, they might think, well, actually the demand for them might not be that good. So we'll price them quite cheaply just to shift them on. But really the demand for them nationally is quite high. Somebody is probably going to a black tie dinner or an event where these sort of trousers have to be worn and don't have them. And they don't want to spend the big bucks in terms of going to a shop and getting themselves a pair. So you look on eBay. So anyway, these were a pair of tuxedo trousers, 44 waist, 31 leg. They were also pure new wool as well. You could tell the tuxedo trousers because they've got a slight stripe down the side of the trouser. I picked them up for £3.25 and I took an offer of £12 on them. That gave me £6.90 back after postage and fees from eBay, which gave me a profit of £3.65, which is 112%. Regular viewers will know that my target, my realistic target, I'm liking the fact that somebody else commented last week on the fact that I'm not just constantly going on about the big products that sell for huge amounts. If you want to be a successful reseller, you've got to consider what I would call your bread and butter products as well, that will just churn you constantly profits of between 50 to 100%. And well, these were just over that. So yeah, pleased. Next up was a nice shirt. I'm back into selling shirts. I've reassessed my shirts. The sort of like what I would call the pub going out shirts. They don't really sell that well. The shirts that are to be worn to the office, the smart shirts, especially in the colours of white and light blue, do sell well. And the striped shirts in those two colours also. This was a nice 17-inch shirt, Marks and Spencer's sartorial one. I picked it up for £3.50 and sold it for £11.60. So there's a profit there. £6.55 back after postage and fees, which gave me a profit of £3.05, which equates to 87% in terms of its markup. So again, falling nicely into that target bracket. In third place, there's 4 products that I'm telling you about. In third place was a nice pair of Clark's Wave Walk, sort of like Mary Jane style flats in really, really nice condition, but I did pay quite a bit of money for them. And so therefore that is why they're in third. These will sell and sell quickly. This was interesting, this one, because I took an offer from somebody, but then I got a message from eBay saying that the payment that they tried to do didn't work. So what eBay do is, if somebody has made an offer and you've accepted that offer, but then they're having problems paying, eBay will keep those shoes on your store. So you don't have to wait for the other person to sort out their payments. And while the other person was sorting out the payments, another offer came in for exactly the same amount. So I took that offer. So that was good. Really, I suppose if you do buy off eBay, just make sure that your payment details are up to date. It could have been that maybe somebody's card had expired or something along those lines, and they hadn't realised. So yeah, just make sure they're up to date. Anyway, these, as I said, I paid a bit over for these, and yeah, I paid £6. Usually, as I say, this is educational. For a pair of shoes like this, usually I'll be going £5, but I thought £6, I'll still make money on them, and I did. I took £13.60 as an offer, £8.23 back, £2.23 profit, 37%. So, you know, that £2.23, you know, and if you think about that, if you do that 100 times, it's a decent amount of profit. So, yeah, don't ignore the small profiters, because also it gets eyes to your store as well. I think I've checked now. I think the shop itself, about 250 products, and I think I've got about 168 watches now. So yeah, and the watches will get some priority sort of like messages to them if I'm putting anything on, or if I'm dropping any prices or anything like that. So yeah, it's worth keeping half an eye on the amount of watches that your shop actually has. And last but not least, even though these sold within a week and very small profits on these, I was happy to sell it, because really it's just helping somebody out. I normally, you know, I do take that philosophy with kids' clothes, and these were a nice pair of boys' Under Armour golf shorts. You know, I think they were for a 16-year-old. They were 28-inch waist. So I made that very, very clear on the listing. I paid £4 for them, took an offer of £8.60, £4.30 back after postage and fees. So that's a profit of 30p, 7% profit. But again, that person might then think, oh, clothes for the kids, I'm going to look at this store again. So I'm quite happy to let that go for that. You know, I'm helping somebody out, and that's what this is all about. So yeah, 4 products there, 4 products that sold very, very quickly, and happy with the profits that I made on those. Okay, 2 within my target, 1 above my target bracket, 1 within my target bracket, and 2 just below. But you can't be brilliant all the time, can you? Right, so let's look at July of last year, July 2024. I have gone through it, and I'm now going to basically give you a list of everything that I put onto that my eBay store during the month of July. As I said, this is to really give you a little bit of feedback on how many things you could expect to sell within 12 months. If you're selling within 12 months, you've gone through all of the seasons, okay? And because there are certain products that peak and trough throughout the year in terms of their demand cycles. It's not this like linen trousers, for example. The demand for them from like springtime onwards to the end of summer is quite high. In winter, it's non-existent. So, you know, each and every product has a cycle. So for me to actually hit each cycle, you've got to give it 12 months. So looking at July 2024, I put on 1 rucksack. There's 77 products in all. 1 rucksack, 4 pairs of linen trousers, 12 pairs of trousers, 5 golf polos, 14 pairs of shoes. That should tell you that shoes are good sellers. I like shoes. 9 pairs of trainers. Trainers are good sellers as well. 1 pair of boots, 1 blood pressure monitor, 1 bridge camera, 6 t-shirts, 1 shirt, 5 jackets, 4 jumpers, 1 DVD player. DVD players are good sellers if you can source them for under a £5. 1 football shirt, another good seller. Football shirts, I would say sourcing for under a £10. 2 pairs of shorts, 1 Le Creuset pot, usually a good seller, okay. 1 saucepan, okay. This was a French sort of like 1970s, 1980s style clear saucepan, what they call vision saucepans, that you can actually see into it. 1 hoodie, 3 hairstyling products, and all of these sold, and they all sold in a run up to Christmas. So yeah, they would have been on for about 6 months. 1 bag, okay, 1 body clock, and 1 dress. Okay. Yeah, women's wear again. It's not something that I know much about, so I don't really get involved. You could say that if I go into a charity shop, I'm ignoring half of the shop, but I don't know really anything about the designers and what to go for. I know what this one was, this dress. This was a Fred Perry sort of like, it was a polo shirt, and it was like a really long polo shirt that you could put a belt around. And I can remember that sold very, very quickly. I just knew that it would sell quick, so that's why I got it. But a bit of advice, because I want this channel to be educational, is to stick to stuff that you know about. And if you are going to move into new categories, because you do have to break a few omelettes to break a few eggs to make an omelette, always be willing to take yourself out of your comfort zone. But to go into women's wear, that is a huge pool to dive into. Maybe when I've got a bit more time on my hands, I'll do that. So that was 77 products that I mentioned to you, and I have sold 70 of them. Okay, so within 12 months, out of those 77 that were put on in July 2024, by July 2025, 70 have been sold. So that was 91%. In terms of those 70, 66 sold for profit, 4 sold for a loss. So that is the profit of 94% of those 70. So yeah, that's really good. Really, really good. And to put some numbers on it, I spent £466.98 on all of those 77 things that I mentioned to you. And I got back, and this is after fees and postage have been taken off. So the fees and postage aren't included in this figure. Okay, if I was to include fees and postage, the figure was 1,204. Okay, taking the fees and postage off, and this should give you an idea of just how much fees and postage actually cost, I ended up with £784.99, which is a profit of £318.01. So, based upon 77 products in 1 month, I made 300 quid. Yeah, so 77 products. What are you looking at there? So divide 77 by 3, you're probably looking at just under or just over 2 listings a day, aren't you? Roughly. It's probably about 2 just off the top of my head, I think it's like 2.3 listings a day, just doing a quick bit of maths in my head there. So, yeah. So, what sold well, okay, from this month? And yeah, let's do the best sellers from this month, shall we? So what were the top 3 sales then in terms of percentage markup from this? You know, I think this is quite a good thing to do, really, isn't it? To actually review on a month by month basis to see where your top sellers actually were. Right, in 3rd place with a markup of 507%. Okay, so it's into the 500s. So, yeah, really pleased with this. It was a pair of Puma Mostro white trainers, which, and these are sort of like the, I'd imagine the sort of trainers that racing drivers would wear. It's that sort of really flat, hugging your foot type trainer. I would say maybe boxers might wear this sort of shoe as well, one where you can really feel the ground in them. It's very, very thin, the contact between the foot and the ground. But I managed to source these for £4, and I sold them for £33.60. So that was a good markup, 507%. This is the £33.60. then I would take fees off and then work out the percentage markup from that. So it's purely done on profits. Right, in second place is a pair of Hotter tassel loafers that I picked up for £2 and sold for £18.60. So that gave me a markup for 541%. Nice markup. Pleased with that. But in top place, and I mentioned it already, was this Vision combing brown saucepan. Okay, it's made in France. Vision saucepans. Think of 70s, early 80s, I would say. I remember my nan having one of these, and it was still in really, really good condition, and I sourced it for £1. And because I sourced it for £1, the sale of £21.60 gave me a profit after fees and postage taken off it of 1,335%. So yeah, 3 products there that got me 500% and above. So yeah, nice. Yeah, bit of a good thing to do this. Glad I did it. So what about the stuff that's left behind? What about the stuff that hasn't shifted? Well, I'll give you one example of it. This tennis bag, it's a Babolat tennis bag. Just hasn't shifted. I think I've got it on for about £8 or £9 or something like that. It still hasn't been bought. So what can you do with it? What you can do, and what I like to do sometimes, is you can set up a promotion of everything that's been on your store for over a year. You can heavily discount it just to get it shifted. I could take it to a car boot, but I'd much rather do the world's biggest car boot, which is eBay. And about once every 3 months, I'll basically give my shop an instruction. Anything that's been on for more than 12 months, please, can you reduce it by 50%? Yeah, just to get the stock shifted, because it's not shifting in its present form. So I'm going to have to drop the price and see how that goes. So yeah, anyway, let's see what else has sold, shall we, this week from my shop, in terms of things that have been on my shop for less than 12 months and I still think that you need to know about, because there's a bit of a story behind them. First thing to tell you about, a really, really good sale here, a pair of Nike Air Max 97s that I managed to source from a car boot sale for £2, and I sold them for £28.60. All right, so £21.67 back after fees and postage, £19.67 profit, which is 983%. So that has absolutely blasted my target percentage. So those things that I mentioned earlier in the video that were maybe a couple of percentage points below my bracket, this makes up for it massively. So yeah, really, really pleased with that. Nice pair of Nikes that had been sourced at an absolutely fantastic price. Now, I think what I'll do as well in the next few weeks is I'll do a video on what to look out for in terms of fake products. Nike trainers, it's pretty easy to spot a fake from the Nike trainers. It's whereabouts they wear on the soles. Nike trainers will usually have its heaviest wear on the back of the sole. If it's in the middle, that's very rare, so that should set alarm bells ringing. Also, check the stitching around the trainer. Usually on fakes, the stitching isn't as good quality. The stitches could be like different lengths and stuff like that. If it is uniform stitching around and actually within the grooves that they're supposed to be on, that's also a good sign. And the label that the sizes are on are usually on the inside of the trainer, and they should be totally smooth. There shouldn't be any ridge whatsoever around the labels. You should be able to run your thumb along the label and not detect any ridge between the material and the label itself. All right, so there's just a couple of tips there on the old fakery, because they are out there, but mostly from car boot sales. If you are, as I said, there are 2 types of store on car boots. There are those that are there because they're there every week and they source some products and they want to sell. And then there are those that are there because they just want to get rid of some stuff from their home and they're there only for 1 week. they're the ones to target. They're the ones to go for, because usually all the things on there are kosher and people just want to make a bit of money from the stuff that they're not wearing anymore. And in terms of shoes, maybe they're too small for them, too big for them, whatever. Okay, but yeah, really, really pleased with that one. Now, the next two, I'm going to do two in one go here, because normally I'll do like a little snippet for each one, but these two were bought by the same person. And this really on your store is what you want to happen. It was quite obvious that somebody had come across the store and was just browsing through it. Or they had seen one pair of trainers that they liked and then browsed through to see if there was another pair of trainers that they liked. And yeah, so when you have a double purchase like this, usually the offers come in bang, bang. Okay, when they come in like that, always check to see if they are from the same person, because if you don't, then you're sending two parcels to the same person. Why not send it in one and combine the postage? If you combine the postage, you are saving a little bit of money there, and you could potentially take lower offers. That's exactly what happened here. Okay, two pairs of trainers, two pairs of size 6 trainers, nice pair of Puma Sun Fades. Okay, the offer for this that came in was £9.60. Okay, I got £6.26 back, £3.26 profit, 108%, because I only paid £3 for these. Brilliant. All right, and the Fat Face sustainable sneaks, and these were sourced for only £1, which is a great. I remember they were in like a sale part of a charity shop, and they were in brilliant condition, and Fat Face being a very, very good name, that usually gets a bit of attention. So these are only bought for £1 and sold for £9.60, £6.26 back on this after postage and fees. Okay, remember the postage for both of those, I've halved it. Okay, and £5.26 back, 526% profit. So all of those, okay, or both of those, were under 500 grams. All right, so they could go as under a kilo, sold through Yodel, because Yodel give the best price for any parcel that's under a kilo, and usually they're quite reliable. I haven't had much trouble with them in terms of not delivering. The ones who I think have got the worst reputation, and this is just from feedback to me and customers telling me things about the delivery, is Every. But again, I've used Every a few times, and in terms of my actual experience with Every, they've been absolutely fine. So I really think it's, if you live in a place that's sort of off the beaten track a little bit, I don't think Every deal very well with places that are off the beaten track. If you were in just like a usual, normal suburban street where your house is clearly identifiable by a number, it's not like a 25A or anything like that, then Every are usually pretty good. It's the ones that are a little bit, shall we say, a little bit quirky. The addresses are or a little bit down a beaten track somewhere. Every don't like them. This next one, I'll be honest with you, I'd totally forgotten about it. It was a Fat Face duffel coat, and this one had been on for over a year. This had taken over a year to sell. So I think I got it last summer, expecting it to be sold in the winter or in the autumn. It wasn't. Size 10, so pretty decent size for a lady. But this year it has worked. This year somebody has taken the bite, and somebody offered me £17.60 for it with postage, and it only cost me £5.50. So there's a bit of profit there. £11.56 back, £6.06 profit, 110%. So pleased with that. Finally, it's gone. And next up, pair of running shoes. Running shoes usually sell pretty well, especially the New Balance ones. These were a nice pair of New Balance 880s. I'd clean them up nicely as well. They photograph really well. So, and they were black, fresh foam as well. So £8.19 I paid for these. So a little bit more. I think I sourced these of Vinted. £8 for running shoes is about my cut-off point, and you'll see why. because usually they sell for about 15. Yeah, so I took an offer on these of £16.60. After fees and everything taken off, £10.92 back, £2.73 profit, 33%. So not quite at the 50. If I could have got it down to £7, I would be there. So running shoes, if they're in decent condition and a decent make, like New Balance, Nike, but they're a pair of just normal run-of-the-mill running shoes, there's nothing really that special about them. They're just normal, basic, not stability running shoes, neutral running shoes. £7 to £8 is probably the sourcing cost that you need to be looking at, because they're going to sell at round about £14 to £16. So there we have it. Okay, that's it for this week. Just giving you again just a little bit of feedback from what's sold on the store, and a little bit extra as well, telling you about my July 2024 and how well they did. But again, when I do these, I think this is the second time I've done a video like this, and both times the amount of stuff that I've sold has come to over 90%. So that's really, really good. You know, I'll certainly be doing another video like it as well, maybe reviewing stuff from, maybe I'll do one in about 3 months time, reviewing stuff from, say, November 2024, and just seeing how well that did. So anyway, if you're liking what you see in terms of just learning about products, learning about what sells well, what prices you need to be going in at, and what prices you need to be leaving them on the shelf at, please subscribe, carry on watching. Okay, I want this channel to be educational, and the comments that are coming back, I really, really enjoy reading. So keep it going, okay? But for the time being, I will see you soon. Bye-bye.